Good morning, and Pat, thank you for coming on. Good morning. This is from the Boardroom Talks. For today, this morning, we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Pat Slattery. So we've given Pat a little bit of a follow-up question following previous talks we've had, and just as a very small topic, again, we've decided to choose. And today, we are going to talk about the power of connection and how to harness it. So, Pat, good morning. Thank you for joining us, and take us away.
Good morning, Pete. And I don't feel for a moment that it's a small topic that we're going to cover here this morning. And because you know how it is with me, I don't really prepare in terms of this. I want to come, I suppose, from where I'm at, right? So yeah, just before the call, I made some notes, thought about connection and what connection is, and maybe what people are looking for and where people are at when it comes to connection. And maybe as we're going through the morning, I know you'll elaborate with other questions, and you'll probably go a little bit deeper in terms of what connection is. But for people, the definition of connection is a relationship in which a person, thing, or an idea is linked or associated with something else. Okay. But when I was thinking about connection this morning, and we'll probably go a little bit more in depth into it as the call is going on, I believe that there's a connection, no pun intended, between connection and communication. And, the other thing is that when it comes to connection, and we'll probably elaborate a bit more into this as I go through here this morning, but, people talk to me about wanting that feeling of connection and looking for that connection, whatever that means to them. And I've seen a lot of programs or books or different things about how to create connection, etc. But I believe it can't be forced. I don't think connection can be forced. Now, it can certainly be practiced upon in order for you to become more aware and more understanding, because for me, connection is about awareness and to get to that level of understanding, I suppose, around what connection means for you. So in my opinion, I think it confuses a lot of people. But I also believe that so many people crave connection without really understanding what connection is. So I'm going to do my best here today. And bear in mind, what I'm going to share here with you here are just my opinions and my experience. Okay, I haven't gone and researched, the scientific studies to connection, but maybe I have a bit of an understanding based on, the fact that I've connected with hundreds of thousands of people through what I do. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about understanding the frequency and what frequency you're operating from, and understanding what different types of connections are there, and what I see to be the most common connections, and maybe give you a few prompts to get you thinking differently, because ultimately your connection is your connection. It's got nothing to do with me, and I can only share things that maybe prompt a different way of thinking and give you a better understanding, maybe, or maybe some of you guys can come back and you may know a little bit more than me when it comes to certain parts of what I'm going to talk about. But you will know, and this is what connection does. It gives you back to our previous conversation about having that power of knowing and the gift of knowing, and you will know what connection really means to you. But sometimes when people say to me, I don't understand what it is, and I'm not sure how I'm connecting right on this universe or connecting with the right people, and a lot of people live a very frustrated life because they don't really understand it. So when we talk about the frequency that you operate on, and the frequency you operate on, you're going to attract people who operate from the same frequency. Now, so let me I suppose get a little bit more into the understanding of people and craving connection, because most people crave connection. I've kind of made a note of 4 different types of connection that I'm going to talk about. And one is obviously physical connection. Most people feel like will now, not everybody, by the way, but most people crave that physical connection. You want to feel loved, you want to feel hugged, right? You want to feel that physical, the touch, and and a lot of people like this. I mean, that's why you get a lot of people who like just to hold hands, that feeling. The moment they get it, they feel connected, or somebody picks up something and they allow themselves to actually feel it and get into it. And that feeling creates a level of connection. But I think the one thing I really want to discuss right now is emotional connection. And emotional connection, in my opinion, this is the one you got to be cautious with. Because, for me, I think over the years I've met so many people who have extremely good intent. People who really want to make a difference in the world, who really want more in the world, who put themselves out there, as I say, expose themselves in terms of just put it all out there and trust the universe. Okay. And sometimes this comes from emotional connection. And when I talk about emotional connection, again, if you're operating on the same frequency, now most people who reach out for emotional connection are people who have had some pain in their life in the past, right? Or maybe they've experienced pain and they want to overcome it and they want to let go of that pain and actually become connected with life. Okay. And the reason I got to say this to you is, as I just feel obliged, I need to talk about emotional pain, because if you want to move away from pain, most likely what will happen is you end up resonating with somebody that understands it, because they may have suffered something the same or similar type of pain. And what happens is people say, oh, well, I resonate with them. They get me because they understand it, because they've been there and they've, been through that same type of situation, etc. And this is the emotional brain I was kicking in. Okay. And you start thinking, oh God, I feel so connected. They understand. But sometimes when you connect with such a person, sometimes you get an immediate feeling of contentment or a relief that you've actually found somebody you can share it with. Okay. And whatever it is that you're going through. But however, I've discovered a lot of the time people have come back to me and said, that spark seems to have gone, or I've kind of discovered they don't seem to be the same person that I thought they were when I first met them, etc. Right? Even when it was friendship or relationships or whatever. And I felt connected with them, but there's something missing. And in my experience, what often happens there is most people, when they connect on that level and that way, is there's probably too much focus on the pain. Now, people will try and contradict me on this, and they'll come back and say, no, we focus on the solution. But we focus on the solution to get away from what? The pain, right? So what becomes the I suppose the most conversational part of your day? What do you guys focus on when you're talking to people is keep moving away from the pain. So if there's too much conversation around, trying to work to fix the pain, sometimes maybe you haven't let go of the pain. So when you connect with people on an emotional level, when you're thinking about an emotional connection, you've got to be able to bring your head along with you here and start thinking a little bit. You often hear me saying, Pete, follow your heart, but bring your head with you, right? And, it's so important for people to understand this, the emotional connection. Now, it's not always a bad thing. I just want to clarify. It's not always a bad thing to find somebody who understands it because they've been there. But there's something more. It's not about trying to fix the pain. And this is where I've seen possibly, in my opinion, some of the biggest frustrations with people when they talk about it. And they talk about, that they've been on this journey, but things don't seem to be changing, and they're not feeling, initially they felt better, but something is getting away. I'm back to where I was, or I'm back to square one, right? And I often wonder, is that because of an emotional connection? So we got to find a little bit more, and maybe I'll elaborate a little bit more into this as I go on. But the next thing to talk about is relationship connections, right? Or when we talk about relationship connections, in my opinion, we could get talking about, the core human needs, like love, certainty, and significance, etc. And people want a relationship based on their core human needs, and they want to connect based on their core human needs. So it's just about getting an understanding. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with having these needs either and having those needs met. But I think the one thing that most people think about when it comes to connection is spiritual connection, right? And like when we talk about spiritual connection, I've got to ask yourselves, okay, how can we find that inner happiness? Okay, how can we find that inner happiness is what I hear people say. And it's a term I think that's used quite loosely in ways that people don't understand what it really means. And I don't mean to discredit anybody here. There's not saying that everybody doesn't understand it, but sometimes there's a little bit of uncertainty around it. So for me, I'd say that we need to increase our awareness about the emotions and thoughts that burden us. If you want to think about connection, you need to create an awareness about all the emotions, about everything that's going on, and the things that burden you, things that hold you down. And it's about, once you have that level of awareness, and I believe it's awareness, and I will, to mention a client of mine, a guy called Dr. Francis Valor. He's a clinical psychologist. He's written 6 books on mindfulness, right? And when you talk about mindfulness, he doesn't believe in mindfulness, he believes in awareness. And it's about raising that level of awareness and becoming conscious of everything, and become conscious of life, and become conscious of your life force and what you're connecting to, etc. But it's awareness, I believe, is the key here. So and I'm going to try and give you some practical things that we're going to talk about when it comes to understanding this, and how to find that inner happiness that you want. And so when we talk about the emotions and the thoughts that burden us, some things I'm going to talk about are expectations. Now, I've been teaching this for a long time around expectations, and I suppose in a quite a different way without using the term connection. Okay, so when we look at our expectations, everybody has an expectation. When you're going out and you're thinking about, trying to connect to a life force, or trying to connect to life itself, or to connect to something better, right? Because everybody wants something better. Everybody wants something more, or a better opportunity, a better chance in life, or maybe the chance to let go of certain things. But expectations, when I talk about expectations, they're like such a big and a silent part of us that may take some time for people to realize that they have them. Most people go, I have no expectation. I'm going to give unconditional love. Well, realistically, I don't believe there's any such thing as unconditional love. There are expectations, right? And expectations have to be met. So, many people spend years suffering until they realize that there is a simple solution. So stop having expectations as a reference point for living, right? So things will go the way they do, right? And other things will behave the way they are. Now, when I talk about that, sometimes life just happens. Things happen outside of your control. And usually when people are feeling overwhelmed or feeling disconnected, it's because there's something going on that makes them feel uncomfortable. And usually that's something outside of their control. Or maybe it's an expectation that has not been met. And sometimes people go, you know what, if I put the best out into the world, I have an expectation that the best will come back. But your expectation is that will come back. So therefore, it doesn't come back, or if you don't see it in the way you expect to see it, you may feel a little bit disconnected. So, and I think it's really important that people get this, and I hope I'm explaining it in a way that people do get it. But if your expectations are met, right, it's great. Everybody's happy when your expectations are met, okay? But if not, you can learn something from the experience of an unmet expectation and move on wiser than before with a broader outlook in life. So the way I gotta say, the only way I can explain this to you, if you have an expectation, you talk about, what you put out to the universe is what you get back, right? You've heard the word of karma and dharma and all these different situations, but what you put out into the world is what you get back, okay? But if you put something out with an expectation, you can't live a life of joy in the same place with envy, with jealousy, with selfishness, with hatred, etc. And I often wonder if anybody can actually be really, truly happy with such negative feelings rule, okay, with a negative feelings rule. And that rule is really the expectation. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to accept bad things. You don't have to accept nonsense. You don't have to accept the things you don't want to accept. But you can choose to let go of it. You can choose the energy that you bring to it. And if you really connect to life force, or to life, or to the universe, or whatever that level of connection you want. Now, we can talk about human connection and making connections, etc., along the way for different purposes. But I'm assuming that we kind of want to go a little bit deeper here this morning, right? And I'm not going to, maybe it will, who knows, right? We'll spend too much time on this. But I really want people to get an understanding here of what connection really and truly is. And as you're going through life, you'll have different types of connection, right? You'll have that human connection, you'll have a business connection, you'll have a partnership connection. But the one thing I'd say to you, for you to increase your awareness into what boosts your inner happiness, because for me, connection means inner happiness. And connection for me means my connection to the universe, to the world, to the things that I want, to my being, my whole being. And I've made some notes just to keep me where I'm at, right? But I mean, in my opinion, to be truly connected, then if you are truly connected, you are truly being. Now, when I talk about being, you've heard me many times talk about being the best you can be. And this is a challenging world. We live in a very challenging world, by the way. So, that doesn't mean that, that I'm all holier in grace, right? And I'm the perfect, and I have a halo. I have, by the way, maybe you just can't see it, right? But, but I know I'm consciously aware of everything that's going on in my life. I'm consciously aware that if I respond or react to something, and I capture that and catch it, I wonder what's going on here. And I have the power to change it. I have the power to change my being. And I have the power to accept it or not accept it. And if I accept that life happens and I don't allow it to impact how I behave or how I think, then I think I can be a better being. Now, that doesn't mean that I accept bad things happening to me. I don't have to hold on to them. I can let them go. Okay? I can let them go. But I can live a life without judgment. And I believe that most people at some point in their life or throughout their life, they have a level of judgment. Now, everybody judges in certain ways, right? The minute you see something, you make a judgment almost instantaneously. Almost in a second, you make a judgment on a person or a being or a behavior. But I don't judge myself. I don't judge my life. And I don't make judgment on people who make mistakes anymore. I used to. And of course, there were times I was possibly disconnected, right? And when I live a life of judgment, I wonder, well, what's my space? Where's my energy? What frequency am I operating on? Am I, maybe it was a mirror image of myself. If I judged other people by their behavior, maybe it was a judgment on me based on something in my past, or something I'd done, or something I was unhappy with, or something that was going on in my life that I had no control of. So I have to decide to make a conscious decision to raise my level of awareness and think, oh, okay, if I was going to be proactive in my life, and if I was going to be the best I would be, then what would I do? What would I think? What would I say? Because connection to me is your whole being. And when we talk about mindfulness, mindfulness is not what goes on up here in your head. Mindfulness is your whole being. It's everything. It's everything that it encompasses everything around you, and the people you allow into your life, how you respond, or how you interact with people, how you interact with the world, and what you do, and the messages you deliver out there. And again, when I come back to thinking about it, it's about giving, actually. Connection to me is about giving. It's about giving more to the world, giving more of yourself. Whether it's kindness, acknowledgement, maybe it's about letting go, it's about knowledge, it's about love, and it's about giving more of all that. So if I want to live in a world where I feel connected, I got to give more of me. Now, that doesn't mean I give all of me. Okay, and it doesn't mean that I have an expectation. In ways, there are certain things I do, because I won't allow certain things into my life. I'm not going to allow bad energy. I'm not going to allow it to impact people into my life. But that doesn't mean that I judge those that do. I understand some people's behavior. I don't always agree with it, but I know that's their choice, and I'm not in control of what people choose. I can only do as I do and do what I do. So maybe somebody else will pick up and inspire somebody else to change. So for me, I want to connect to life source, and that's a term that I picked up from a good friend of mine, John Boyle. He said to him it's life source, and whatever that means to you, whether it's the universe, whether it's people, whether it's life, whether it's yourself, but it has to begin within you. It has to start with you. So in order for you to have that inner happiness, and I would really believe the connection is about having inner happiness, is about really believing in yourself. And people, understand that people talk to me about, when it comes to business and so forth. They say, Pat, you seem to be out there doing a lot of business and is quite successful in this. But I'm going to tell you, this is where it comes from. This is where it begins. This is where it begins. And it's not about, switching off the world and just turning everything off, and understanding that this is more important, because it's all important. It's all important. And it's not about, differentiating yourself from somebody else, or what you do from somebody else, or again, judging people because they seem to be doing things differently than you. Everything is important. It's all important. And it's about embracing everything, whether it's, and having that, abundance of everything, whether it's health and wealth and intellectual well-being, that inner happiness, that spiritual connection, everything. It's encompassing everything. So when you're talking about connection, you have to, you can't put up barriers for anything. You have to accept everything. And, if you're going to accept all the good things in life, you have to accept the bad things in there too, but you just become aware of it, and not have to take ownership of it. So I choose to connect with my life source, which is me being the best I can be. Sure, sometimes I get challenged. Sometimes something gets in the way. Something happens, or I get a different thought, and I may respond to that thought. But I'm consciously aware that I can make that change, and I can make that change without judgment. And I live a life with no regrets. You know, yet most people beat themselves up because I wasn't connected before. I tried to be connected before, and I didn't make that level of connection that I wanted to make, and maybe I've done something wrong. But it doesn't matter, because the moment you've done that, your level of awareness is beginning to peak, I guess, because you're becoming aware of what doesn't work. So now you have a choose to say, okay, I accept that. That was my life. That was my past. That was my story. That's what happened in the past. That's their story. That's their life, whatever has gone on. But I can still choose today what I allow and what I accept into my life. And I choose to connect with everybody. And I choose to do this without judgment and without regret. Now, again, you don't have to take ownership of things that you don't want. Okay, and I think this is where the confusion happens. Okay, because normally when you do, I believe you're going into that the emotional connection again, and the emotional connection is a tricky one, right? So because everybody wants to help everybody, and you know, and then you think, okay, well, if I have to connect with the world, I have to be able to help do things and share things and do whatever it is that comes to you, and you have to be all forgiving. Now, forgiveness, of course, is certainly, in my opinion, something that you need to be able to do in order to connect with life source. But you got to forgive yourself first. Now, listen, forgiving yourself, by the way, is not beating yourself up. It's not about, oh, I forgive myself for doing all this wrong, etc., etc. It's just right now. That's all it is. It's forgiveness is just letting go. It's not going back and looking for permission to be forgiven for the things that happened, so things that you're unhappy about. It's about actually allowing yourself right now, in this very moment, to just act, and that's it. You can let it go. You don't have to overanalyze it. You don't have to go back there. You don't have to be digging it all up, because again, that's an emotional connection, right? So sometimes it's letting it go. So, you know, for me, if you were to ask me about increasing awareness and what boosts your inner happiness, well, number one is to become a better human. Become a better human, okay? By practicing empathy, compassion. You know, when I talk unconditional love and humbleness, and this can help you cross borders of individualism and the beauty of human connection. Now, you know, when we talk about the different types of love, right, we have, you know, the baby love. Baby love is very generous love, right? The babies keep giving you love all the time. Is that right, Pete? They keep sharing your love? No, they don't. As long as they keep getting what they want, they'll keep it, right? If they don't get what they want, they're going to scream the house down, right? They're going to do what they want to do. But it's amazing that a lot of people into their 30s, the 40s, and the 50s still operate from the same place, right? They think that they're giving you this generous love, right? Yeah, as long as you're getting what they want back, right? So you got to say to yourself, okay, we go into a different one where, you know, we're trading love, right? So we're trading connection. So I'm going in with an expectation. Back to that expectation again. I'm going to give it you on condition that you give it back to me. Right. So we got to change that too. You got to have a different perspective on life. You got to then go back into what we call real love, real connection, is where you just give. You give yourself, okay, and you give what you're made of. You give to all, even those that haven't been good to you. Now, this is quite difficult for people. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, you can give love to all, but you don't have to keep them in your life. I think this is really important to understand. You don't have to keep them in your life. I've had people in my life, people that are still in my life in ways, but they're not part of my life, if that makes sense. You know, or maybe, sorry, they're part of my life, but not in my life. And I could look back in life and I could, you know, point the finger and be angry and be annoyed and everything else. But what's that doing for me? What's that doing for me? That's just disconnecting me from me being the best I can be. It's disconnecting me from being who I want to be and who I love being. And maybe somebody who's watching this will resonate with this, that there are people in your life that may have hurt you, may have created pain. Now, you know, I'm not saying this is your own choice, by the way. I'm not suggesting this is everybody's choice. But I truly believe that if you can just let it go, you know, you can love them in a different way. It doesn't mean that you invite them back into your life. You absolutely don't. But you can let it go, and you can love yourself even more then. And you can focus on connecting on what you really want to connect with. Because if you carry the pain of the past, there's going to be a lot of disconnection. Again, that's the emotional connection. And usually when you carry the pain of the past, you end up connecting with somebody who has a similar type of past or similar type of belief, if you like. And that becomes the most, if that's the one thing you have in common, then in my opinion, it's, you know, unless both of you have become aware of letting go and aware of real true connection and connecting with life force, then sometimes that relationship is destined to fall apart because there's an expectation. And, you know, so again, you become a better human. Live meaningfully, right? Again, such as dedicating yourselves to loving someone, something, raising your kids, you know, having something meaningful in your life. You know, maybe it's a noble cause. Maybe it's in the pursuit of dreams, of something you want to do, but have a meaningful life. And quite often, you know, myself and my partner, Donna, we talk about this quite a lot, about living a life of purpose. And, you know, when people are feeling lost and disconnected, I just truly believe that momentarily they have lost their sense of purpose. And, you know, and people say to me, I need something to get up for in the morning. I don't have a life. I don't have something. And you have to dig deep. I can't tell you how to do this. I can't tell you what it is going to be for you. But you got to dig deep and ask yourself, you know, how can I live a meaningful life, regardless of circumstance, regardless of the past, regardless of what happened? And I say this with compassion too, because I understand that some people are, you know, will go through a lot of pain. Some things may happen in people's lives that create huge amounts of pain, which can be difficult to see this, and it can create anger and whole piles of emotions as well. But if you can find a way to live a meaningful life by dedicating your life to something or someone, a nobler cause, a pursuit of your dreams, and you live a meaningful life, I believe that this is going to help you turn dreams into reality. And, you know, turning dreams into reality is a process that actually make you see things about yourselves that you're not even aware of. And, you know, when I can think of multiple people I've been blessed that I met so many people in my life who live meaningful lives, and they live them in different ways. You know, I know a lot of people who committed their life to living a life where they make a difference to other people, where they dedicated their life to a nobler cause. I know some people who dedicated their life to their family. And you know what? If that's what it means to you, I think this is what's really important here, because most people judge themselves too, and they live in this, you know, we talk about the world of comparisons. Some people have dedicated their lives to their family, and then they go, oh, you know, maybe I should have been doing something with a career as well. Maybe I should have been doing this. And it's not, if it's not relevant to you, then don't compare yourself to other people. You know, your connection to life is your connection to life. And if it means that you want to raise your family, and, you know, a career, it has lesser importance to you, and you're dedicated to your family, and you're living a meaningful life, then I believe you're connected to life force, if that's what you absolutely love and it feels wonderful. And some people will dedicate their life to a business, of building a business, you know, and ironically, when I look at somebody building a business, people say, you know, they're greedy, they've lost their purpose, they're growing that. Well, I have a different point of view on that, because I see people, you know, giving opportunity to people, helping people to support families, to, you know, to put food on tables. And the bigger the company, the more employees. I just see people having an opportunity to get up in the morning, having a sense of purpose. If you have 1,000 staff, that's 1,000 people have a sense of purpose in the morning, knowing that they're getting up, playing their part, they can put food on the tables, put a roof over their families' heads. You know, maybe I just see things differently, but you don't live in life in judgment, or you don't judge yourself, or don't compare yourself. I've met lots of people in business who go, geez, maybe I've committed too much of my life to business. I would love to have put time into my family. Now, if you truly want that and you can connect to that, you will find a way. You will find a way to make all of that happen. So, you know, again, turning, you know, your dreams into reality is a process. But once you're on that process, you know, maybe you see things such as different skills that you have, or flaws that you have, you know, you will discover that those things that you were not even aware of, because you're living a meaningful life. It may challenge, it may challenge you, or it may help you reassess your core values and beliefs, right? But all in all, it will help you grow out of the limits of your own minds, if you choose to live a meaningful life. So I think, you know, ask yourself, are you living a meaningful life? Are you being a better human by doing what you do, even by doing what you do for a living? and just connecting in terms of no judgment. No judgment, no expectation. Just go out there and be the best you can be. Because I also know people who try to connect with, you know, I hear so many people, and there's a lot of people out there right now, and we talk about the different laws of the universe, and people who talk about connecting with the universe and connecting with people and connecting with life. And again, as I said, a lot of people are confused. So it is what it is for you, whatever it means to you, but it should encompass all things that matter to you. It should encompass all things that matter to you. And when you understand your core values, if you're doing something that doesn't resonate with your core values and starts making you feel uncomfortable, then it gives that feeling of disconnection again. But if you choose that you want to have it all, then you can connect to life, and life will deliver whatever you ask of it. You can connect to the universe, whatever term you want to use, and the universe will deliver whatever it is you ask for, as long as you truly connect and be a better human and you live a meaningful life. And this is just my opinion. Okay. The other thing I'd say is you got to get the know-how of relaxing. Okay. The importance of taking that time out to connect with nature. Right? Nature has a wonderful way, by the way, of bringing you back to reality. Right. You know, and I've spent a bit of time out at sea. Right. I've got that lesson too. Right. When nature makes a decision, nature is going to tell you it's time to step back and relax. But you know, again, the importance of relaxing, because right now, and I think in this current climate and in this world we're in, most people are required to excel at productivity or efficiency, right? And they're pushing us really hard. So it's really important to discover what relaxation means for you, right? And to make sure you find the time for it. So, you know, that's all part of connecting too, in my opinion. So, you know, creating that connection, and we can talk about connecting with people shortly, but I hope I've kind of thrown some insights into connection with life force and what it means and where it should be at. And again, I could find myself going into it again during this talk. So, you know, to me, it's those things. It's number one is become a better human. If you want to boost your awareness for inner happiness, because that to me is what connection is. So one is become a better human. The next one is live a meaningful life, and then getting the understanding know-how of relaxing. So the other thing I want to talk to you then about is intuition, right? And we touched on this with the gift of knowing, because intuition, to quote Albert Einstein, he said, the only real valuable thing is intuition. So when you get that intuition to connect, and you allow and you go with it, or, you know, sometimes you say go with the flow, right? But go there, allow yourself to go there. But again, remember this, don't go there with an emotional connection. You got to question the emotional connection, and then allow yourself, if you were to move beyond that, if you were to expand on that emotional connection, what more could you do? What more could you be? And your intuition will never let you down, by the way. It never lets you down if you really give yourself a chance to understand it. So, you know, and again, that comes back to again, giving love to all, to everything, accepting everything with no judgment. And usually in the middle of this, when your awareness levels start to peak, your intuition peaks too. Right? It's like you know, by the way, you've always had it, right? It's that sixth sense. You've always had it, but it's almost like, you know, it's appeared out of nowhere. Right? Once you raise your level of awareness, it's like it appeared out of nowhere, and you become consciously aware. And sometimes you become unconsciously aware, and the message will come to you because you're connected. You know it doesn't feel good, and you probably know if it's not good, but you'll also know the opposite. You'll recognize the things in life, you know. And I will say this, I'm honestly blessed. You know, I have amazing people in my life, in all aspects, in all areas of my life. I have other people, again, remember this, who are part of my life but not in my life, because I choose not to have them in my life, but they're part of my life because they've been there in the past. They're still here today, but they're not in my life, because I can choose that, because I'm aware that they don't belong there. And that's okay. That's okay. I forgive myself for that. People say that, you know, that's not very compassionate. Maybe you didn't forgive them. So I don't need to forgive them. I don't need to. I forgive myself for not allowing them into my life, and that's okay. Now, I'm sure some people may challenge me on that, and that's okay too. I forgive myself for allowing you to challenge me on that. Okay. So, but I will say something to you, to the people who are watching here. When you become connected in life, people will never forget your kindness. Kindness is so important here. You've got to be really kind. Connection to me is about kindness too. You know, look at, and not only that, when you come across problems or issues or things that come up, you got to look at them as reasons to do more, to love more, to give more, to offer more. So when things happen, when problems come, you got to look at problems as a reason to do more, to love more, to offer more. And that's how you become solution focused. Because people say to me, how are you so solution focused? Simply because I look at problems as a reason to do more. So therefore I don't see the problem. I find a solution. How can I do more? How can I be more? How can I offer more? So, you know, it's somebody, I can't remember who used this term years ago about your enemy. They said, oh, it's simple, smother them with love, right? So if the problem is there, smother it with solutions so the problem disappears, right? So if you live a connected life, your level of awareness, you just start thinking this all the time. So again, now we got to understand about human connections, right? Because we got to talk about human connections here. And human connections can bring complex values to your life. Okay. Relationships, by the way, give people a sense of belonging, whether it's in a group, it's a sense of identity, a sense of identity in contrast to other people in your group. And by the way, you're living in groups, right? You're living in groups. So, you know, you have a different identity to everybody else in that group. So if you allow yourself to become aware and consciously aware of the groups that you're allowing yourself into, that's going to give you that sense of belonging also. I mean, I think that's really important for people. And when you do that, and when you understand your sense of identity in contrast to other people, it's like a therapeutic support system. And it's certainly a reason not to feel lonely. Because loneliness, to me, in my opinion, is the killer of, you know, being connected. If people start feeling lonely, they start feeling disconnected. So we go back to those 3 points about, you know, being a better human and allowing yourself to understand by being a better human that it's quite difficult to feel lonely. If you live a meaningful life, it's almost impossible to feel lonely. So therefore you're connecting. And if you understand the know-how about relaxing, it's almost impossible to feel lonely. So therefore there's a very little chance of disconnection. Okay. Well, again, when most people, when they think about creating that level of life of connection, they set out expectations. So we got to be very careful here and get an understanding of this. So one of the most miraculous aspects of life is human connection, or inhuman connection, so people are able to establish with one another. So when you feel an emotional connection or a soul connection or a mind connection to another human being, life becomes more meaningful. Yet strong connections are very rare to find, especially when people around seem to be satisfied with living disconnected. So everybody I meet so many people who are looking to connect with human beings. And, you know, again, to use, I can't remember who coined this or penned this frame many years ago, but it's very difficult to live an inspired life with desperate action. Right. And it's the same thing when you're looking for human connection, and when you want that emotional, that soul connection or mind connection to a human being, it's very difficult if you're satisfied with living a disconnected life. So you ask yourself, are you being satisfied? Are you disconnected and satisfied? Because some people will confuse both and say, well, look, I'm kind of satisfied. I know things aren't always happy and always where to go and a whole lot, but I'm fairly satisfied. And then they have moments of disconnect. And they become frustrated, yet they know they want more and they want to be more. And, you know, they want to find that person, whether it's a friend, a lover, a partner, it doesn't matter. Everybody craves human connection. Everybody craves human connection. But, you tend to, birds with feather flock together, right? The frequency you're operating on. And that's why you got to be really consciously aware. So I think awareness, when we talk about connection, is something that's really important that people understand. How aware are you of your level of connection and the frequencies you're operating on? And are you being a better human? So, or are you living a satisfied life? That doesn't mean it's bad, by the way. It doesn't mean, that it's all bad. I mean, if you're satisfied, you're satisfied. But if you really want to connect at a higher level, then you can't be okay with living a satisfied life. And if you want to communicate and you want to connect with people that are that you assume are at a higher value, or seem to be operating from their higher value, not a higher value than you, but operating from their highest value, then you have to ask yourself, well, what are they doing? How are they behaving? How are they living a meaningful life? What does life actually mean to them? Maybe you can learn something, resonate, and recognize it in yourself. And then your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, you tend to attract more people just like that. And you live more connected and satisfied life, rather than living a disconnected life. So don't live a satisfied life. Start connecting with more human beings, with the people who have what you want, the people who understand it, the people who get you, the people who seem to have everything. Because you have too, by the way, you have everything. For anybody who's you have everything, by the way, everything. And you might look at me and say, no, I don't, Pat. I don't have money, I don't have love, I don't have a relationship. Trust me, you have everything. You just got to go out there and get it. It's there waiting for you. You got to play your part. You live a connected life and you can be, do, and have anything. Absolutely anything. It's there. It's yours. It's already yours. It's parked up somewhere or somebody else is minding it for you until you're ready to go and get it. But it's there. It's for you. So I'm hoping that's giving you some good pointers on where we're at. And Pete, you're very quiet this morning. There's not many questions.
I'm just looking for an in. That's it. Oh, no, believe me, there's plenty of questions. As you were speaking there, do you know what? And I think I have an engineering brain. And I don't know if you've ever seen the video of, there's a bridge. And the bridge, it's a brand new bridge that's been built. But the wind picks up. And basically the wind vibrates the bridge. And the two of them get into resonance. So it's basically mechanical resonance, as they call it. But when that happens, basically it amplifies. So the bridge starts to sway. And once it starts to sway, the swaying gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually it gets to the point of such high energy that the bridge is in the physical form destructs. And I was very much struck by, as you were talking, that the power of connection in yourself and how, it's bad math, but it's when 1 and 1 equals 3. You get an amplification because two things come together, whether that be yourself, whether that be life partners, friends, whatever, as you say, when you get a strong connection, but actually it's an amplification of two parts to actually create something more. Mm-hmm. And that's what really stood out as you were talking there. That's the picture I had in my mind of that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you know what? I actually think it's more than two parts, right? Because as you're but initially that's when the clash of thunder, right? Boom, that's when that connection is made like that. It's amazing. But when you look at how everything plays its part, everything and everyone plays its part in this world. This world is what it is because everybody played a part. Everybody has come together in some way, shape, or form. And in particular, and this is something that's really important because life will always guide you to where you want to be at, where you should be at, right? And life will punish you for your mistakes too if you see them as mistakes. And it's just like that. I put the bridge together, I didn't put it right, I didn't take all the elements into account, right? And by not understanding all the elements, so the bridge collapses, right? And it is about understanding all of the elements. It's about encompassing everything. And that doesn't mean that your bridge will collapse sometimes too. That's okay. It just means, well, I just now know how not to build a bridge, right? And how to build a bigger bridge. But it is when energy comes together, when people come together, like we've seen this before. You've seen it many times in its most simplest form, right? You've seen videos, I'm sure, where somebody has been in a car accident and somebody's trapped under a car, and all of a sudden a group of people come together on that energy and they just lift that car. That's complete. That's absolute energy coming together at its best, and that's people living in a conscious world where they want to make a difference. Even there are probably people. You would have said, oh, they're not such a good person. I wonder why they've done that, right? Everybody is a good person somewhere. It's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere. It doesn't come out in everybody. It doesn't come out everywhere. But everybody has their own part to play. And I think this is really important that you encompass everything. And again, remember, I want to clarify here what I'm saying to you is, there can be people or behaviors that be part of your life, but you don't have to let them in. You don't have to let them in. You don't have to take ownership of them. And that is part of becoming awareness, not to let them in, but you got to understand they're there. You can't change that. And when I see people come together Pete. We had a dinner last Friday evening in Belfast. Oh my God, the energy in that room was incredible. Some people who came together for the first time, and I sat back and I paid attention. That's what I do, right? I watch it, and I felt that I absorbed that energy from that room. I absorbed it in, and later on I was talking to one of the guys over there, and we were just talking about doing what we do and why we do what we do. And I said, I know why. It's the people. That's why I do what I do. It's the people. I keep finding more people, and you know what? They keep finding me. And the people who operate at the right frequency, at the right level. And I also find those people who want to, who appear to be a better human and keep stepping up. And they're the people I find. And, and I absolutely love it. And I'm consciously aware of this. So when I see it coming, I embrace it. I bring it in. I allow it in. I bring all that energy in from all areas, from every aspect of life. And it's an amazing feeling. And I mean, sometimes, guys, you just got to get that feeling and get it, and you know it, right? And there's some things that are almost unexplainable, right? But I can tell you, when you get there, you'll know. When you operate as a being, that you're connecting to life force, that you're connecting to human beings, and you understand what you're truly in control of, and you are in control of it all. Now, we can kind of be a little bit contradictory here and say, well, let go of control, right? When you want to become connected, let go of control. There's a different type of control, okay? A different type of control. Letting go of control means let go of those expectations. You can't give it in there conditionally, right? But what I will say to you is, when you do this, when you live a life, a connected life, and you're aware of everything that's going on and what you're giving to life, you got to be prepared to accept it, because it will come back, right? But don't expect it. Now, this is, there's a difference here. Now, don't get me wrong. When I look at my business, I look at certain things, I set out an expectation in there in terms of, because there's goals to achieve, and we got to look at those goals and say, okay, in order for that to happen, what would I expect to happen if I do this? But when it comes to life and living as a better human, just, you know what? Just put it out there. Put it out there. And when you put it out there, you be the best you can be. And I ask people who are watching this right now to take a moment to visualize, imagine what your best life would be, and what the best you would be right now. What would you look like? What would you feel like? How would you be speaking? How would you be thinking? And it doesn't matter whether it's whatever it is, was a meaningful life about building a business, or a nobler cause, or whether it's your family, or whether it's a loved one, or maybe it's just you right now and you want to find that loved one. Allow yourself to sit there and say to yourself right now, imagine you being right now the best that you could be. What would it look like? What would it feel like? And I mean, honestly, sit there and take the time to do this. Really allow yourself to think about it. And whatever you see or whatever you feel, then be that. Choose today. When you walk out your door today, or whatever you're doing today, that you behave like you would be with no expectation. You're not looking for permission. Nobody can give you permission for this. This is yours. You already own it. So don't wait for permission, and don't wait for it to be okay for somebody else, because that's living a disconnected life. So just be the best you can be. Choose to do it today as much as you possibly can, and practice it often. And you will start finding yourself, your level of awareness, you get what we call a heightened awareness. You start recognizing and realizing things, what is good for you, what's not good for you. And you also, you will recognize maybe there's things in your life, or sometimes people in your life that don't belong in your life. Because maybe all this happened from an emotional connection. And maybe you'll make choices that things can be part of your life, but not necessarily be in your life. And everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And my story in my past does not equal the story in my future. By the way, not that it was all bad, but my story from yesterday doesn't equal my future. It's just part of my story. And I have to consciously every single day become more aware of where I'm at and how more I'm connecting. And by connecting, in many ways, I find myself connecting with lots of people. I get a lot of really good human connection. And for me, one of my core human needs is love. I love to be loved. Right? I love to be loved. Now, a lot of people confuse that, what love really means. Right? But I love to be loved. It's important to me. It makes me grow. I love to be making a difference. This is something else I can, I see it when, I've set back in many times in something I've done. I've been part of this universe because I know I'm playing a very meaningful life. I'm living a meaningful life. And sometimes I can see it, and I can see it happening, and I'm aware of it happening when the people around me are not aware, but I'm aware, and that it helps me grow more because it makes me do more of it again, become more meaningful about who I am and what I do, and gives me a better understanding. So I would keep doing more. I would keep connecting in many, many different ways. But I will take the time to relax too. Because some people, when they don't understand it, set out expectations for other people. You need to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. You don't have to do anything. It's your choice. I just choose to live a meaningful life. I choose to be connected to life, to people, to opportunities, to happiness. And people say to me, do I have inner happiness right now? Absolutely. Does it get challenged sometimes? Absolutely. Of course it does. Do sometimes I may question it? Yeah. But I tend to look for the answer as to why I feel that way. And I make the changes if I feel change needs to happen. Or sometimes I just go, okay, that's just how I felt, and that's fine. And emotions do get in the way. And when you understand emotions, find somebody you can share it with. Find somebody who you can connect with, that you can share those emotions with, so you don't have to become them. Because more people become their emotions, right? Their emotions make people react in certain ways. And if you're truly connected, you can change those emotions. That doesn't mean that you won't do something sometimes that you're not comfortable with yourself based on an emotional reaction, an emotional feeling, or a response to something. But you can become aware of what it meant, and you can change it, and you can forgive yourself. So, but once you can verbalize it, you don't have to become it. And if you find the right people, you're connected to people, you can verbalize how you feel. So if I'm feeling angry, I can say, you know what, I'm feeling angry. If I can't converse that, if I can't translate that, what happens is I suppress it. And eventually, boom, blow your lid someday over nothing. Right? The old saying, the straw that broke the camel's back is normally something that's just the straw. It's a small thing. And people go, what was all that about? But if I can connect to life, I can understand my emotion and I can share it. I can share how I feel. Doesn't mean I have to become it. If I feel frustrated, I'm feeling frustrated. Why are you feeling frustrated? I don't know. I'm just feeling frustrated. I don't need to know. I just know I'm feeling frustrated, and I can get rid of it by conversing it. I don't have to become it. And if I have that, I feel happy. Great, I feel happy. Then I'm going to be it. But you know what? People talk about connecting to the universe. People talk about, when we talk about the laws of the universe. Let me say this to you. You are the laws of the universe. They're not out there. They're not something that's out there that you will bring in. You are the laws of the universe. You are everything. You are anything that you want to be. You are. And, the answer comes within you. The answer is within you. You are the laws of the universe. You are life source, whatever that means to you. But you are. And that's how you know you're connected. Don't be looking for an outside source. You got to put it out there. You are everything that you need. So when I hear people talk about the wonderful laws of the universe, and people say, Pat, how can I make the laws of the universe work for me? Then you are the laws of the universe. You can't make them work for you. You are. So just do what you would do if you were to make them work for you. Nobody else has that. Nobody else. You might want some knowledge and some skills for sure that you might need to use in order to implement the laws of the universe. But that you have it. You have it all. You have everything you need. Just choose to go out there and be a better human and live a meaningful life. You have them, right? Like attracts like, right? So if the law of attraction works, then you have to be part of the law of attraction. If like attracts like, right? But if most people are not consciously aware of this and they put conditions on it, then they live a dissatisfied life. So they live a disconnected life. So some things turn up that you don't want. And I got to be very careful when I say this, because I know some things have happened to people, some trauma has happened to people that they never asked for. But you can still forgive yourself and just accept that it happened. But you don't have to have that in your life anymore, and allow yourself to choose to live a meaningful life. Give yourself a chance, because you do deserve it. And you already are the laws of the universe. You can attract what you want to attract, but don't mistake emotional connection. Just be the best you can be and be true to yourself. And if it feels really good, chances are it is. If it doesn't, pay attention. What message is coming to you? Pay attention. And then choose life. Choose what you want to be. Choose what you want to have.
Thanks to you, I have Life is Life Opus playing in my head right now.
That's my song. I listened to it this morning at 7:30. Yeah, Life is Life.
Yeah, it's just stuck in there. What, going the other way, because obviously when people are saying, when they're searching for something, by the process of elimination, I mean, can you give us a bit of an insight in terms of the traits of disconnection? And because you talked about that, so if you are privileged to feel the connection and feel all that, that's such a special thing. But potentially in our day-to-day life, maybe disconnection is something would be more familiar with. So I'm just
when you say we, you don't mean me, right?
I don't mean you, of course not, Pat. I would never make such a statement.
and I think this is, and I said that jokingly, but I'm quite serious as well for people who are listening here, because talking about disconnection actually is something I find very difficult to do. Not because it affects me emotionally or anything, because I just don't think about it anymore. Right. So now I have to really think about disconnection and what it means to people, and yes, I understand it. And that's why I say, when you say we, you don't mean me, because when people talk about disconnect and disconnection and talk about the things that are happening in the world that they're not comfortable with, and they say, well, or here's what we do, we make this mistake, we do that, then you're taking ownership of that, right? So I don't take ownership of that, and I think that's the difference. People who take ownership of disconnecting, maybe it's frustration, right? I meet a lot of people, by the way, who are frustrated because they set goals and they have these goals and things they want, but everybody wants instant gratification. Instant gratification to me is disconnection. Nothing happens just like that, right? Now, when I say nothing happens just like that, you can choose to be connected just like that. But if you want proof that you're connected, everybody wants it now. I want to be loved. I want someone to tell me they love me right now, right? I want somebody to fall in love with me right now. And that takes a bit of time. People have to get to know each other. They got to get to know people. But if you have that expectation and you're frustrated because it's not happening this soon, then to me, that's a little bit of disconnection. It's about, okay, let's accept what it is and where we're at in life and understand this is part of the journey. And life is a journey, right? If people want income, they say, oh, I got to get out. I got to make money fast. That's a disconnection, because they're not coming from the right place. And if you're looking for something fast like that, then you're not paying attention to everything. You're only paying attention to one thing that you want. And and when you want it, your reasons for wanting it are usually not connected to life. It's to solve a problem fast, something that's frustrating you. So where's the focus? Right? The focus on something that's bothering you right now, and I want it fixed. And you're looking for a quick fix to that. So there's a disconnection. Now, the other side of it is too, when we look at the core human needs, significance, for instance. Men in particular are geniuses at looking for significance, right? They gotta feel like I'm the man, right? I'm the man. Significance is so important to men that they'll almost do things that are destructive in order to find significance. I've seen people, and maybe you've seen people too, okay? For me, I take everybody, I appreciate everybody, I respect everybody. And I know this is something you touched on before, Pete, that you've recognized, but I have absolute respect for everybody. And I believe that everybody should be treated with respect. Now, respectfully, if you're behaving in a certain way that's disrespectful, I can forgive myself for letting you go. Right? You can be part of this life, but you don't have to be in my life. Right? So, but I've seen people in restaurants. You've all seen people in restaurants. You have a waiter who's serving you, somebody who's taking care of you. I mean, they take care of you and you really appreciate it. But then you see somebody who's like, hey, boy, who are disrespectful. And that becomes a frustration. That to me is somebody who's disconnected. Right? They're disconnected because they don't have that respect. But you wonder, but here's what's happening, because they're there and they're paying the bill and they want to be the man. The man wants to be the man. And because the waiter happens to be giving attention to somebody else, they might go, I want attention. I want attention. And by behaving that way, gives them significance, right? But they're not connected. And they might go, you see how I got things to people, I made people jump. And it's nonsense. You will see people who get angry, men in particular, by the way. I know women too, but men are better at the significance thing, where they become angry because things don't work out in their favor. And if I get angry enough, I get what I want. Right? And it makes me feel significant. Even though they may not necessarily feel great about it, they still get that significance, that core human need is being met. Right? So, so when you start looking at how are you having your core human needs being met, but they're disconnected. Again, for instance, somebody with significance wants to provide for their family, right? So family is a strong need for them to be able to provide that security for them. And I've experienced this because my background in security has been my business for most of my life, right? And I've met some people and I caught somebody stealing in a particular place one time. And when I spoke to the person, and this man who came to me, and I know this was an honest man. I knew he was an honest man. And actually, I feel emotional even talking about this guy right now because it really impacted me. And this guy was literally, he was buying stuff, but he was at the freezer section. And what he was doing, he was opening other boxes and putting extra food into some of the boxes that he was going to buy. And I caught him doing this, and I said, listen, come on, let's have a chat. And he just said, he broke down and he said, I have no choice. He said, I have to feed my family. I said, I have no work, no income. He said, I have to feed my family. I have kids. He said, and I said, I've just no choice. He said, and I thought, you know what? He done something that probably would have went against his character, or who he truly is. But the significance for him to take care of his family was so strong that he'd done something that would go against his true character. And that's, in a way, is disconnected. When the reality is, we knew, I got to be honest with you, Pete, I gave him a job. I hired him, right? I hired this man. And I can tell you, it was, when I eventually sold my security business, got out of the security business, he retired. He said he never wants to work for anybody else. But when I saw this guy turn up, and I saw him turn up for me, and the way he turned up was incredible. And the pride he had in wearing my uniform was incredible. And he felt the significance, the same need was met, but in a positive way. And he was really connected to life, connected to people. He had an ability to get the best out of people, but he behaved in a different way when he was disconnected. So, and again, so people got to look at, I could give you hundreds of examples of this, and what I believe disconnection is. Disconnection is also feeling sorry for yourself, right? Because when you feel sorry for yourself, usually, in my opinion, it's because love is possibly a very strong core human need for a person. And if they're not feeling the love or not getting the love, then they can feel sorry for themselves and feel a little bit miserable. Now, these are just some of my opinions, Okay. And, but how do I know this? Because there was a point in my life I was feeling sorry for myself. I just wanted to be loved. And when I didn't feel it, I didn't feel good. Because love, to me, I believe, is one of my core human needs. You know, and by the way, that wasn't always easy for me to say. I couldn't say that. I didn't live in that space where love was okay. So no wonder I was dissatisfied in certain parts of my life, and no wonder I went out aggressively after running a business, trying to find something to feed me in some way, right? To try and find a need that I didn't know that I needed or wanted. So I was very aggressive about business in the early days. I was very aggressive about chasing the money. You know why? Because the first day I came home, my first paycheck at 14 years of age, and I handed my mum. I loved the look in her eyes, and I loved the feeling. And I think that's what I connected with then, without realizing what I connected with. And that's why I chased money. That's why I went out working so hard. It was because of what it was giving me. It made me feel loved in a strange kind of way. But even then I was disconnected because I wasn't consciously aware of what I was doing. I was doing good things, by the way, but I wasn't consciously aware. And it's only when I became consciously aware of my surroundings, of the universe I live in, and my part, me playing my part, meant then I am. Whatever I am means, I am. I am the laws of the universe. I am the universe. I am love. I am compassion. I am happy. I am kind. And actually, I am absolutely outstanding, right? And it's really important for people to understand this. So I'm just going to even share, just to tell you how conscious I am. I even make a note of it to remind myself. I am happy. I am me. I am life. I'm creative. I'm living a life of abundance. I am making a difference. I am love. I am. So are you. So are you. No, nobody else has this to give it to you. You already have it. You are connected. You're connected to life, to the universe, to life force, to love, whatever it means to you. But once you choose to live an abundant life, and I say this, choose because it is a choice. And once you choose to be patiently persistent and not look for instant gratification, maybe things are different. But that doesn't mean that you want to not get instant gratification sometimes. Sometimes you will. Sometimes you will. But let me tell you, if you want an inspired life, you got to live an inspired life. And you have, every single person, you're already connected. You just got to choose at what frequency. I choose a frequency of love, of life, of happiness, making a difference. And I choose the frequency of me. I choose to be life. Now, I don't have to explain that to anybody. I just accept it for me. And if some people will get it, that's okay. If some people don't, that's okay too. I'm not looking for permission. There's no condition to this. It just is. And when you live this life, I promise you, you will connect to more people who operate in their highest value. Not in a higher value, because nobody operates in a higher value than anybody else, as long as they operate in their highest value. So it's not about comparing people, or which one do I want to hang out with, which one not. It's about operating to, if you want to meet people who operate to their highest value, then you've got to operate to yours. And just choose to connect with life, whatever life brings you, and accept it's part of your journey. I hope that answers that.
It does. There's a lot there. You've given us some of your examples. I mean, I'm just wondering, can you elaborate then on the traits of a super connector?
Super connector. Explain what you mean as super connectors in a person, or
it's whatever way you perceive it.
Okay. Well, a super connector to me is just, again, acceptance. It's acceptance of all things. you know, we would talk about the universe making connections, but you are the universe, right? So it's what you do. It's how you create that energy. So, you know, it's like, how many times did it ever happen? Have you ever happened that your energy is so high, and then you meet somebody who has similar type of level, and you go and shake their hand, you go, oh, jeez, right? And it's like you get an electric shock because you're operating at the same a frequency that's a very high frequency. So the universe operates in its own way. I really can't explain how it happens. It's kind of one of those things that goes unexplained, I believe. But I think a lot of it is trust. Trust is a great connector. Trusting yourself and believing in yourself and having faith in yourself is a great way of connecting, because it means that you're not putting on the blinkers anymore, that you see everything, you encompass everything. And trust is a great connector. And I guess belief and having faith in yourself is a great connector. And as a human being, as a result of that, you will see, you will feel those people, you know who those people are, and then you too become a connector. You're just part of the, you're just an adapter, by the way, in this life, right? You're just an adapter. You're like a double adapter, right? People connect into you, they connect to somebody else, right? But the people who connect into you connect to somebody else on the same frequency because you make that connection. But it's all about frequency, and it's about energy, and what, you know, and trust is energy, faith is energy, love is energy. It's all energy. You are energy. And if you operate at a frequency of energy, you tend to attract the right people. And guess what? You're the connector, Pete, right? You're a human connector. You're a human double. I don't even have it. I wish I had a double adapter now to show you. But that's it. You just plug in, and somebody else plugs into you, and you keep making that connection, and that continues. That goes on forever. It just doesn't stop here. So when you operate in that energy, and you see energy as a connector, and trust and faith and love and all these different other things that go on, that connection continues and continues and continues and continues. This is why now, I guess, actually, that's a great question, Pete. Now you get me excited, right? But when you talk about the law of attraction, remember when The Secret came out and everything else, and all of a sudden people are becoming more and more aware of this. And because we can share our awareness by just being, by living a meaningful life and being a better human, when you share that, it resonates, people connect with you, people feel inspired because of that. It's not that you've really taught them anything. You've found out that you've given them something that takes that inspiration from within themselves, that they find that within themselves, and they carry that message in a way. This is not a religious thing. Religions will operate on this basis too, and if people are religious, that's okay. I have no issue with religion. I just have no affiliation to any religion. But for me, on a spiritual level, I think we're all connecting, and you know, gradually you're finding yourself connecting more and more people. And I think more people are open to this right now. I think more people are getting an understanding of this. And when you go out there and you just be a better human, when you live an inspired life, you're bringing more connection. Your level of awareness is raising. You're connecting with other people who were on that same journey or looking to move there, and you've inspired people to step up and raise a level of consciousness and their level of awareness of what's going on, and you're actually connecting people. So energy, I guess, is probably the most simplistic answer, but there's many different aspects to that energy, right? And you are connectors, and I think it's so important that you become consciously aware of this. For everybody to hear that you're consciously aware that you are a connector by the energy that you're bringing, by having trust in yourself, having faith in yourself, acting on that energy, acting on the things that you recognize that you're really good at, finding what your strengths are, what you're really good at, and doing it with absolute happiness, with no expectation. And now the other side of that, if you do things with expectation, be transparent, and that's okay too. Be transparent. Say, I have an expectation. If I'm going to give you this, there's a difference between transactions, right? Transactions are different. If I want to sell you the mug, you've got to pay me for it. That's an expectation. That's a transaction. And that's okay. So don't be confused, and don't go, oh, if I don't make transactions, that I'm not connected. Of course you are. It's a different thing. Don't become confused, because I mean this respectfully, there are people out there who will exploit this too, right? This is possibly part of the disconnection. There are people who will exploit this. And they see you as a really kind person, and they want to do a transaction, but they want it to be a one-way transaction. Okay, that's disconnection. So, you know, and if you are participating in that because you're a person who just wants to give, then you're participating in disconnection, right? So don't confuse transactions. Transactions have to happen. They happen all over the world. They make things move, they do things and so forth. But in terms of connection, you know, you know, God, just the energies you bring, the things that you bring, the life that you live, that's what it's all part of. The energy that you bring when you meet people, you walk in a room, and when you walk in a room and you light up a room, and by the way, everybody does. People, there are people on here, and I've met so many people who think, well, I'm not really making a difference. I have nothing to contribute. You have everything to contribute. You are consistently making a difference. Trust me. Just because you haven't seen it yet, but you're making a difference. And if you allow yourself to accept that you're making a difference, your awareness levels start to raise, and you will start seeing how you're making a difference, and then you will doing it more meaningfully. That to me is what a connector is.
It's not. I mean, it's beautiful and it makes so much sense. I mean, and what springs to mind is, you know, the physics, the law of energy, in terms of it's neither created nor destroyed, and it merely changes form. But we can choose the form, the polarity of the energy. We can choose how we choose to apply it and move forward.
You're right. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. You know, some people they choose the quick fix. And when you choose, I mean this respectfully, for most people here, you know that you've chosen the quick fix in the past, and the quick fix doesn't work, right? So you got to choose the best option. You got to choose, you know, if you're being the best you could be, what would you choose? That doesn't mean that we don't slip. Everybody slips. It's okay, by the way. Now, just because I said everybody slips doesn't mean you should use it as an excuse to slip, right? But you do slip. Everybody slips. Everybody makes a mistake. Everybody has emotion. Sometimes emotion gets in the way and it creates a different behavior. And that's okay. You know, it's not okay in some cases where it creates a negative impact on somebody's life, right? But even if that happens, you can't live that life. You can't live that life beating yourself up. You have to accept it. That's just life. It's what you do now. And when you become aware of some of the mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, by the way. Everybody has history. Everybody. And nobody is perfect. There's a few of us almost there. Joke. But you know, why do you beat yourself up? Why would you? That's not living a meaningful life. So just get out there and choose. Choose today. Choose today to, you know what, it's a term I rarely use, but choose today to try something new, to try to be that little bit better. Give yourself a chance. If you keep giving yourself chances, if you choose good choices, then chances are things will improve, things will get better. And it's a process. And it should be a process without judgment. It should be a process without judgment. And I mean this respectfully, you already know. You may have lost your way. You may have just lost the way. But if you allow it, your brain, your mind, everything about you, your whole being will find a way. Whatever that means to you. Whatever that means to you. But you will find a way. And you'll find your way. And you'll find what your inner happiness means. It's not what anybody else means, or what it means for somebody else is completely different to you. And it's not about living. You don't need to have what somebody else has to have inner happiness. You know, I see so many people who are out there saying, oh, I want what they have. If I ever get what they have, I'll have inner happiness. Well, sometimes we often hear the saying, you know, if you went in a room and you threw your problems into a bowl and everybody threw them in, I think you'd be happier to take your own ones back, right? Rather than be left with somebody else's. You choose your own. You choose your own inner happiness, whatever that means to you. Whatever that means to you. But you know what? Give yourself the best shot. Give yourself the best shot. Now, choosing inner happiness doesn't mean just thinking about it, what a wonderful way it would be if I ever get there. It means giving yourself a shot. You're going to make some mistakes along the way. You're going to meet some challenges along the way. But it doesn't matter. You'll know you'll know that level of connection that you have will make you become aware of that and what you need to change and how you're going to change it. And you become solution focused too. But give yourself the best shot. Allow yourself the opportunity to see the possibilities of what truly can be. And that doesn't matter to me whether it's life, business, financial, love, happiness. I believe it should be all, actually. It should be all of that. Contribution, abundance. It should be all of that.
Talk to us about expectation versus aspiration.
Expectation is what you want to get from other people, a reward that you want to get. Aspiration is what you do because you want to do it, because you want to get out there, you want to make a difference, you want to be it, you want to, you want to feel it. You know, when you aspire to make a difference, truly make a difference, I look at some people here actually, Pete, on social media. I see a lot of people on social media who are just incredible people, actually. People I know from my past, and some of them, I've only got to know them. I'm 49 years old. Some of these people who I thought I know since I'm 5 years old, I've only just got to know them because I see them in a different way now. And I have one lady. I don't mind mentioning her name. She'd probably be embarrassed. Her name is Jackie Purcell-Dewig. She grew up beside me in Ballinanty. She's a little bit older than me. Sorry, Jackie, if you are watching this, right? But I watch what she's doing every single day for the homeless in Limerick at the moment. I watch everything she's doing. She set up a homeless page, and she's out there, and one or two other ladies who just help her. And they have no expectation. She just knows she's making a difference. She's doing it without judgment. I saw people come on making comments, right? Some people who have comments and they go, oh, why don't they get a job? And that's someone who lives in an expectation. They live in, I suppose, an entitled life. That makes sense. Okay. Maybe expectation is looking for entitlement. Maybe it is. I don't know, right? Maybe everybody can answer that for themselves. But aspiration, I just watch what she's doing. I watch every day what she's doing, and she just does it relentlessly. And this is a lady who came from where I come from. We come from a very humble beginnings, and she has no expectation other than she's just going out there doing this. I mean this respectfully. I'm not even sure she realizes. I'm not even sure she realizes what she's doing and how outstanding a human being that she actually is by doing this, because she has no expectation. She's just doing it. She's just playing her best with what she can do, the best of what she can be every day, and no expectations. So I think it's the same when no matter what you want to do, if you want to build your business, you want to build your dreams, you want to build your vision, just go and do it. Just go and do it. Just know and trust that you're giving it all. You're giving it all, and you aspire to do something, to make a difference, to make change in people's lives, to compliment people, to lift other people up. And when you aspire to do that, the funny thing is, all those other things you want tend to turn up. They arrive into your life. They come into your life, the things that you want. Because when you operate at your highest value opportunities tend to show up. Now what if you do it with an expectation, and there are conditions attached, then you have to be met with other conditions also. Now, I don't have an issue with expectations too, because you're going to have to manage expectations. Okay. You have to understand what people expect in certain areas. So I know, Pete, when I come on here, you have an expectation that I'm going to bring some value to your listeners, to the people who are watching this. If I'm not bringing value and I don't meet that expectation, I won't be invited back. Right? So, and that's okay, because you should have that expectation too, and that's, does it have something to do with connection? Maybe it does. But you have to have some expectations. You have to have some expectations of life as well. And I do expect that if I'm going to be kind to people, I expect them to be kind back. Now, but if that expectation is not being met, I don't force it anymore. I just accept that that's not being met. They're part of my life, but they don't need to be in it. And when it comes to expectations, I think what's really important to point out is expectations is for me, that's how you manage relationships. Relationships have expectations, and if expectations are not being met, that's why relationships break down. So for instance, if a woman or a man, because I don't want to sound like I'm picking on women, right? But if a man, I'm banging my laptop here, but if a man wants to be loved and he has an expectation to be loved, and that is not being met in the relationship, then it's going to cause frustration. It's going to cause arguments. It's going to, create a disconnect. So the relationship is most likely to break down. In business, if I have a business relationship, Pete, with you, and you have an expectation that I'm going to deliver 1,000 of these to you within a certain date for a certain amount of money, and I don't deliver them to you on time, then that relationship is going to break down because your expectation is not being met. So expectations are about managing relationships, in my opinion. And every time an expectation is not being met, it damages the relationship. So I think it's very important that people are very clear about their expectation. So if I'm doing a business transaction, effectively we're entering a contract. Contracts have expectations. So if I make an offer to you, here's my offer, and the offer is based on an expectation from you. Once you accept that offer, now you have accepted my expectation, and I've done the same. So now effectively we're in a binding contract. If that expectation is not met, we're breaking that contract. And it's the same when it comes to life, by the way. When you set out expectations, you're managing relationships, you have to manage the expectations. So you have to figure out, well, are these the expectations that work for me? So don't enter a contract if you don't like what's expected of you in that contract, right? And again, because if you do, you're disconnecting. Because eventually that's what's going to happen. But if you enter into a contract where everything is clear and we understand the expectation, then we're probably connecting to a better energy and a better source because we're doing it together. I have an expectation of me that I'm going to be the best I can be. If I'm not, I don't feel so good. If I make a mistake, I don't feel so good. If I have an expectation, then also that I can shift that just like that because I'm consciously aware of it. But a lot of people are not. And unfortunately, when there are some people who are disconnected, and if their expectation is not met, they're going to tell you. Right? And they're going to make sure you know. And even when you know, they're going to reinforce it. And then sometimes what happens is it changes your expectation of yourself. You think, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I have no value to bring. I don't think I'm happy anymore. And usually that's something that's probably, when I say the word forced on you, is I can't think of a different word right now that's outside of your belief. It's not really true. It's not who you are. But it's just because somebody else's expectation hasn't been met. And, as we often say, they want to take it off their back and give it to you. You don't have to accept it. And if you're truly aware and truly connected to life, you don't have to accept anything that's given to you that's not truly yours. The pain is not yours. You will experience it, but it's not yours. Hatred is not yours. You may experience it. Envy is not yours, and you may experience it. But you'll also experience joy, and happiness, and love if you allow it. And if you allow it more often, and if you get out there and share it, then without expectation, it's going to come back to you. Because naturally, as human beings, we want to do it. We want to share something that excites you. Love, joy, happiness, that excites everybody, right? And we naturally want to share what excites us. So, you know what? Share more of it, and it'll excite you more. And guess what? It'll turn up. People share it back to you. That, again, to me, is part of connecting with people.
I'm struck by, I think it's in chemistry, they talk about exothermic reactions. You take two chemicals and it gives off energy, it gives off heat. Mm-hmm. And I suppose that, you were saying about the connections, I mean, we're connecting continuously, but are we connecting together to actually bring an energy? Because what I'm picking up is the energy is given off in the actual point of connection. That's when the energy is produced. It's not the separate parts. It's the coming together. It's the connection, the actual physically connect. It's where it gives off the energy. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both positively and negatively, right? I mean, you bring the wrong two chemicals together and then boom, there's an explosion, right? You know, but you can also bring the two right together and have the same explosion in a positive way. Now, this is a family show, so we won't go there, right? But, you know, but there's so much when it comes to energy. And look, you walk in a room with 1,000 people. There'll be 1,000 people in the room, and all of a sudden you meet somebody and it goes, just like that, you just know, wow, we can do so much together. We can make things happen. We can change the world. I can share what I have. You can share what you have. And usually it's something that you're lacking, something that you know you desire, that you find that, call it a skill set, call it energy that somebody else has. Or normally what happens is you find somebody with a certain skill set. You have a dream, a goal. You know what I need to do. How am I going to make this happen? And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you just say, God, I have to go to this talk tonight. I have to go to the sim. Don't want to go there. I'm tired today, but I think I better go. And all of a sudden you walk in the room and next thing, you know, Pat Slattery meets Mighty Pete Longton for the first time and they have a conversation. And as the conversation on, there's two light bulbs going off here, right? I'm going, yeah. And you're going, yeah. And we're getting it, right? And the energy is lifting and your whole physiology changes. Right, your physiology changes, and you go, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. It's here. It's turned up because you're bringing that energy to the room. Whether you realize or not, you're constantly looking. You're constantly looking. You may not think you are, but you're constantly looking, and your frequency, the energy you're bringing, is looking too. Okay, the universe conspires to make things happen. Bear in mind, you are the universe. Right? So it conspires to make things happen. So it goes in search, and always it's like a magnet, right? You get the two magnets, you get a magnet, you know the way you get a magnet and go boom, and they stick together. And when you turn it around the other way, opposite frequency, they don't want to talk. They move away from each other. But when they come together, it's solid, right? It's solid. And there are plenty of people out there who want to connect with you and bring that energy to the room. And when you bring that energy, then there's so much you can do. Imagine two stronger magnets coming together. Look at everything else they can attract. Twice as much, right? Twice as much metal as one, right? So if the job of that magnet is to attract metal, then two of them coming together attracts twice as much, right? So that's what happens by connecting with people at the same frequency, at the same level, coming together and creating that explosion, if you like. It does twice as much, possibly even more. It probably reinforces it more than twice as much actually. So it's the same when you share the goals, when you have the vision to make a difference in the world. When you have that vision, you're connected to life, and you bring that energy to the room, and you find more like-minded people. That just expands. It expands and expands and expands and expands. And that's how you're making a change in the world, because other people who are looking, and there are people looking, when they come into that arena, and they happen to find themselves in that, for simplicity's sake, that same room, where now all of a sudden they know they just don't have Pat Slattery, they also have Pete Longton, they also have a number of other people who are exuberating that energy. They go, I'm in the right place. I have seen this thousands of times at my seminars. When people go, some people have come to me and said, you know what, I came here tonight not knowing what to expect. I thought I was going to get this, but my God, it was so much better. And then their awareness, they're waking up. They're waking up to what's real for them. And that's why I'm going to keep doing what I do, Pete. And I know that's why you're going to keep doing what you do. And every single person in here has something to bring into the room. And, you know, together everyone achieves more, right? Teamwork. Everybody achieves more when people come together. And what I love, it's amazing because when I began in this journey, I didn't know that people like me existed. I thought I was a little bit nuts. Oh, I'm dreaming. God, I'm dreaming. How dare I? Oh, people never understand me. But let me tell you, there are more people like you and me. Right? And when I say there are more people like you and me, I'm talking to everybody who's watching this. There are more people like you and me. You might not have all the answers yet, and that's okay. They'll come. You may not, and you don't need to have all the answers yet. Just trust yourself. Have a bit of faith in yourself. And knowing if you come, you arrive in a room, whatever that room is, whatever that means, or you arrive into the life force or into the universe, whatever that means to you, and you come with the right energy, then you're going to create an explosion. because once you connect with more people, really and truly, it's almost impossible to stop that feeling, that energy, that source of happiness, whatever you want to call it. It's there.
I have one last question, because I want to be respectful of your time. Previously, you talked about one of your favorite places is by the sea or at the seashore. And I'm curious about the connection for you, the interpretation of the connection of the sea to the land, the sea to the shore.
Yeah. For me, I believe people are, I think, look, everybody's connected to nature. Everybody's connected to Mother Earth. Okay. Everybody, and I think we take so much energy from the universe and from Earth, from nature. And, and a lot of people may want to dispute this, but I can tell you this: when when I come out of when I'm in the ocean, I never want to come out. That's, to be honest with you. But until I get tired, I'm in there, right? But that sense of connection, that because it allows me, as I said, to relax, which is one of the things I need to learn to do more. I relax when I'm there, but I relax there in a way that it allows me my imagination. My imagination just goes wild. Right? It just goes wild. I'm so grateful. I think gratitude is something I practice habitually. I think it just comes to me when I'm sitting by the ocean or near the sea. I have a feeling of gratitude. I have a feeling of abundance, and I know I live an abundant life. And when I take the time to sit there and just relax, and for me it is the ocean, or even I went for a walk in the forest last week, and it's the moment of silence and listen. But when I listened to what was going on in the world, there are thoughts that run. You can't turn off all the thoughts all the time. They keep coming. It's impossible to turn them off. But it tends to bring in, it's like a cleansing of thoughts. It's like a cleansing of, anything that might be getting in the way. And it gives you the freedom to flow in terms of the good thoughts and the acceptance. So when I'm above the ocean, I accept I'm on the right journey. I accept, again, coming out of the ocean, when I look back on my life, and sometimes I reflect on life. I don't live there, but I reflect there. And I look at some of the things that were going on in my life, and there were parts of my life I was going through a lot of pain. Now, as I said, I told you before, I have these couple of tattoos, right? And here, I got this tattoo done many years ago. It's a Celtic warrior, but he has no eyes, right? And he's fearsome looking, actually, very fearsome looking. It's a scary looking tattoo, right? And his mouth is open, and it's dark. And for me, what that resembled to me is, I had no idea what the future held for me. I wasn't, like most people, I was in a place that I was struggling, but I knew I was strong enough. And to me, a Celtic warrior represents strength, right? That's what it means to me, and courage. And I knew I was courageous and strong enough, and I knew that I could, but I just had no idea how or where I was going. And there were no eyes there. I couldn't see. I just knew I could. I knew I could make it there. Now, this one actually is a similar Celtic warrior, but he's much healthier and stronger, and he's coming out of the ocean. And in the tattoo in the background, you can see a storm in the background. So I'm leaving the storm behind. I'm also holding a shield, and the shield is in front of me, which holds a crystal and the all-seeing eye, which means my future. I know what my future is. I can see it, and I'm in control, and I'm holding it, right? And that's what it means to me. And that's what the sea and the ocean means to me. And it might sound a bit off the wall for people, and maybe they understand it, maybe they won't. But that's what it means to me. It's connecting with life, and it's sometimes. It's cleansing. It's letting go of the past. It's letting go of whatever. Let the storm behind you. Just let the storm behind you and hold your future in your hands and keep moving forward. And that's what it means to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, I am. And it's been outstanding.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pete.